Hi, and welcome to Cosmic Consciousness with Cassia. On this channel, we discuss all aspects of the Ascension process. I have a variety of services that I offer to assist in your awakening journey, and you can find those listed in the description box below. Today, we're going to be talking about the full moon in Leo, which is happening on the 28th of January, 2021. Just 2 days before Mercury stations and then begins to go retrograde in the sign of Aquarius. And so this is a very interesting full moon that we have. We have the moon in Leo, of course, and then with every full moon, we have the sun opposing the moon. And so in this case, we have the sun conjunct Jupiter opposing the moon, and also in a loose conjunction to Saturn. So this energy is interesting because the sun is the ruler of Leo, which therefore makes the sun the ruler of this moon. And so when we see this this gentle tug of war we have going on between the sun and the moon here, even though we're talking about the full moon, the sun in some aspects I sort of feel like is winning out a little bit, just because it is the ruler of the moon and it is conjunct Jupiter, which is a big expansive energy. So when we're talking about this full moon, what we really want to think about is this Leo Aquarius axis, because with the sun and the moon in opposition, we're looking at these axes, we're looking at these two different aspects, these two different sides of the same coin, which is what we can say about opposing signs. And so we're looking at sort of like what they have in common and what is different about them. And so there's a couple different names for this axis. One is the axis of ego, and another one is the axis that looks at the group or the collective versus the individual, especially when it comes to leadership and things such as this. We have Leo, which is like the lone ruler, the sovereign, the king or the queen type energy. And then we have the Aquarius energy, which is the group and the collective leadership energy. And so we're seeing this slight tug of war between the ways that we express the self, the ways that we express the ego, the ways that we understand ourselves. This full moon is very much about us, but it's about us and also understanding how us is part of a larger us, right? Or I am part of a larger we. So it's that sort of energy that we're working with. The moon in Leo is very expressive. It's very charismatic. It's fire energy, right? And so it's very much about expression. Sometimes the Leo energy can be that energy that plays to the crowd a little bit, because Leo enjoys being appreciated. Leo enjoys being validated. And I don't mean this in a bad way at all. This is just part of that energy. Leo loves to express themselves creatively, but really likes to be applauded for that and acknowledged for that. And so we have that energy, but that's being tempered by this sun conjunct Jupiter energy. In the sign of Aquarius, this is very much also about the self, but it's about the higher version and understanding of the self, the more detached understanding of the self, and also of the self in relation to its responsibility to the greater collective, especially when we have Saturn loosely conjunct this as well, which brings that sense of responsibility home, very much that sense of maturation. And so this moon is very much about us maturing into a more evolved version of ourselves. What does that mean? What does that look like? How do we authentically express ourselves in the world in a way that really feels true to us? When we have the sun conjunct Jupiter energy, this is very much magnifying our beliefs. It's magnifying our sense of self. It's really like having us calling attention to our integrity, what it is that we believe, what it is that we think, who it is that we are, and really asking us to step into that authenticity and to utilize that Leo energy to express that creatively and dynamically, but to do so in a way that really has that higher evolutionary standpoint and viewpoint to it. Leo is very much who Leo is. Leo is very much in its own energy, expressing that energy. And Aquarius has that detached ability to look at things because it is an air sign as opposed to a fire sign. And so Aquarius can look at things logically. Aquarius can kind of take its own emotions out of the equation and really look more with more of a detached observer point of view upon the situations in the world, upon the situations within the self, and really is then challenged to synthesize an identity based upon that level of discernment and detachment and understanding as well. And so it's really interesting to see that, and we're really being asked to do that. We're really being asked to look at ourselves from that higher evolved standpoint and really express ourselves from that point, and to release anything, right? Because these full moons are all about releasing, to release anything that is standing in the way of the truest and most authentic expression of ourselves in the world. It's also where we're going to be looking at this axis in terms of leadership, right? The sovereign versus the group, the wants and needs of the collective versus the needs of the individual, versus where this one entity wants to take us versus where we want to go. Does that line up? What kind of leadership are we looking for in the world? Where are we wanting to go with that? And so that's another interesting aspect that we see sort of coming up with this full moon. This full moon is actually in a T-square. And so we have the sun and the moon, or the sun and Jupiter and the moon. And then we have Mars, which is still loosely conjunct Uranus. But by the time we get to this point, their conjunction isn't as strong. We're still feeling that Uranian energy, but we're really feeling that Mars energy. And so this is where that conflict between the ways that we express ourselves, how authentically we express ourselves, how we see ourselves in the greater schematics of the whole, and how we express that energy. It's like it wants to be expressed through action. Mars is all about action. And so how do we take action on that? How do we take action on expressing how we are, who we are, and how we are, right? How do we take action on the truths and the integrity that we hold within us, the morals and the beliefs? And how do we bring that out into the world, into and onto this stage of the world? So that's really what we're looking at here. And we're looking at the ways that we've grown and healed, and the ways that that's changed our perspective and our understanding of ourselves, as well as our place in the world, because we have Chiron sextiling the Sun, Jupiter, and Saturn. So we're really looking at that. We're wanting to understand that. We're wanting to bring our own personal growth and healing process into this mix as we determine these factors for ourselves. We also have Venus and Pluto conjunct. Being squared by Eris conjunct true black moon. So this is a very intense energy, especially when it comes to relationships, when it comes to our understanding, our relationship with ourselves, and very much our relationships with others. This feminine energy, our feminine energy is being transformed during this time. And so we're going to be looking at that. We're going to be feeling that as well, and the effects of that quite possibly during this full moon, as our feminine energy is really looking at itself, is really going through this process of the shadow aspects of the feminine, and the shadow aspects of our relationships, and how things play out in our relationships, especially when we have this your Eris conjunct true black moon energy squaring it. It's very much the dynamics between the feminine and the masculine, between the feminine and the collective, and just the ways that those energies play out. And so we're really looking at this. This is an energy where we want to be careful, especially when we're feeling so outspoken and we're really wanting to externalize things. We want to be careful, because this Venus conjunct Pluto energy can be explosive. It can very much bring us into those shadow realms of paranoia and obsessions and anxiety. And so we want to allow things to be revealed to us, but we want to observe those things. Call upon that Aquarius energy of observation more than anything else. And maybe wait until Venus has moved out of this conjunction with Pluto to really act upon the things that we are possibly seeing or understanding. We want to keep the focus on us and learning the truth about ourselves, and then understanding that as we look at those aspects of us, that influences and transforms our relationships as well, because our relationships are wanting to transform right now. And this isn't saying don't have a conversation. With this Venus conjunct Pluto energy, it's also very intimate, right? It's deeply intimate. It can be deeply sexually charged energy. And so, like, we can connect with people and we can forge those deep connections. We just want to make sure that we're aware of where our own wounding and trauma and our own shadow side may be playing into these things as well. And just keep that in the background or the forefront, depending, of our minds as we move forward and sort of navigate this energy. But this is really beautiful. This is really facilitating that inner transformation energy, and that ability to become truly intimate and understand what true intimacy is. And remember, we always talk about, we have to learn how to be truly intimate with ourselves before we can be truly intimate with another. And so those realizations may be driven home for some people as well during this full moon. And so we're going to pull some cards here and see what the cards have to say. We're going to start with some Black Moon astrology cards. Clear. All right, let's talk about this full moon in Leo. What is going on? What is happening for us? All right. And so we have the Gemini, I think, card coming out with the 8th house, endings and beginnings. And so this is endings and beginnings around the ways that we think, the ways that we communicate. There may be communications coming that do trigger endings and beginnings. And remember, the 8th house is ruled by Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto. And so we have that Plutonic energy coming through again. But this is, so that may happen for some. This is why we're saying communicate with care, right? That the communications may trigger endings and new beginnings. But this is also endings and beginnings in the way that we think, the way that we understand, the way that we analyze and catalog information. This once again comes into our belief systems and all of these different aspects as well. I'm feeling like it's going to be interesting. I'm feeling this energy, especially with the twins, right? Of like dual belief systems and sort of understanding those. And a dual belief system is when you believe two opposing things at once. So you believe, perhaps for one thing, like I am abundant. But then on the other hand, you also believe I am poor. That's like a very basic example of what these dual belief systems would be. And so this causes us a lot of problems in our manifestations, in the way that we experience our reality, because they're contradicting each other. This is that contradictory energy. Even when we talk about, and I'm thinking about magic right now, right? The occult and magic with the 8th house. It's like, even when we practice magic, this is something that any good teacher will teach you when you are attempting to practice, is that if you have a divided will, your manifestations, your spells, your creations will not come to fruition because your will is divided. And a divided will is the same as a dual belief system. Your will has to be unified. And so we have to go into the subconscious. We have to understand what the subconscious thinks, what the subconscious believes, what the subconscious wants. And we have to merge that into the light and integrate that with our consciousness in order to make really true effective change in the world. And it's interesting, we have the Saturn return on the bottom of the deck, which is all about that taking responsibility kind of energy that we were talking about, and the blessings that come, Grand Trine, as a result of that. But we'll see if those cards come back out. I just wanted to acknowledge them. But yeah, so a lot of that energy coming through is just endings and beginnings in the way that we think, recognizing when we have these dual beliefs and releasing those, when we have these dual desires, and really, for some of us, finding ways to fulfill some of those desires so that we can then unify our desire. Because a desire exists until it is fulfilled, and once it is fulfilled, it's satisfied. And so some of us may be satisfying desires during this full moon for the purpose of releasing ourselves from them, which is really fascinating and interesting energy, which very much lines up with this whole Venus conjunct Pluto energy that we have going on at the same time, right? I may do a separate video on that because I'm feeling that energy just like the Mars and Uranus. I was thinking about doing a video on that as well, but I didn't get around to it. But these are powerful energies, powerful conjunctions that we have going on here. But yeah, so a lot of that, just understanding and the unifying of the will, the unifying of the person, right? Of the identity. Yeah, the unifying of the mind. So I like that. I like that energy. And then we have the fire element, desire, coming out. This is always fun. And of course, with that Mars energy, with that Leo fire energy, there's some fiery components to this. And then we have Uranus, genius. And we have the 11th house, friends, coming out. And so I feel as though we're really seeing and understanding our desires, and we have been seeing this, especially with this Mars conjunct Uranus energy that we've been experiencing, right? And it's like we're understanding, and we're understanding the ways to fulfill our desires. It's like we're getting some inspiration around that, and we're seeing how the networks, the people that we have in our lives, the organizations, the connections that we have can assist us and facilitate us in fulfilling our desires. It's like we're connecting dots and seeing things around that. And then, of course, the Mars card coming out, force. And so, yeah, and we're seeing the ways that we can enact our will in the world, and the ways, it's like we're recognizing where we actually have assistance and support where maybe we didn't see that before. And we're really learning how to call on that assistance and support as we move forward, and to use that to empower us. We're letting go of this energy or this idea of like, I have to do it alone. And we're realizing that we can do it together, and we can actually be stronger together. That's a huge energy that I see coming through. And it's like I almost feel like, in a way, even though, well, I guess Uranus would represent in some aspects the collective consciousness, because it is that higher octave of Mercury, which rules Gemini. But I'm feeling like this collective consciousness energy coming through too, as we are collectively realizing and understanding how much more powerful we are together when we are united, in mind, in spirit, in will, in desire, like the endings and the beginnings that we can create. And I feel this in terms of the earth and where society is going and things like that too. So that's really beautiful, and that does line up with this energy, with this access of the individual versus the collective and all of that going on. So I really like that energy coming through. Anything else here? Aries, I am. Venus, love, and Aquarius, I know. So I like this. I am and I know. This is us really stepping into who we are. And this, we can see this with the Sun conjunct Jupiter. It's like that is a very much an energy of somebody who knows who they are, knows what they stand for. And so we want to be careful. We want to temper that, because we still want to remain open. We do want to know who we are. We do want to know where it is that we're wanting to go, but we don't want to get into that mode where we think that because we know, everyone else needs to agree. That's the energy we want to avoid, right? That's what we're moving out of with the nodes in Gemini and Sagittarius, right? Is that energy. But it's very much coming into a knowing of who we are, a knowing of who we are, a knowing of who we want, what we want. Who we want was maybe a Freudian slip, because we have the Venus card here. But this Venus conjunct Pluto energy, I'm feeling, really helping bring us into this understanding of who we are, which is really interesting, which then, of course, helps us understand more clearly who and what it is that we want. Let's get more on this Venus card here. Pluto, transformation. Okay, Venus conjunct Pluto, right there, boom. So a lot being transformed in the terms of when it comes to love and relationships as well, and the fourth house roots. And when it comes to our roots, when it comes to our family and our home dynamics and our situations, transformations coming around that too, around the ways that we express our love, that we experience our love, the ways that we find security and stability in that, and just the ways that we find security and stability in general. And even more than the home and the family, like if we take the fourth house deeper, it's actually about the foundation of ourselves, the foundation of our soul. So it's like a transformation of the foundation of our soul as well. And just the ways, it's like, I almost feel like this is saying too, like it's being transformed through love, which is really beautiful. And this doesn't necessarily mean through intimate connections or romantic relationships or any type of relationships. This is just using the power of love transformatively. And really healing. I'm once again being drawn back to, it's like childhood wounds, childhood things like that, healing as well. Us really understanding the way that we think and how that comes from some of this stuff as well. And really, as we understand that and release that and transform that, we transform the way that we think on a whole nother level too. So that's really intense energy. And then we have the Leo I Will card on the bottom of the deck. So us really stepping into ourselves and taking center stage in our own lives. Doing so in a way that is responsible, collectively responsible, and it helps to positively influence the collective. I feel like that's a big energy of this full moon, is like realizing how our unique creativity and our unique spark can positively influence the collective when we really step into who we are. This energy, especially being squared by Mars and that loosely Uranus, right? It's very much about that energy of being ourselves, being 100% who we are, regardless of what other people think about that, really embracing that and stepping into that. And then we have the Saturn return card again underneath that. So really this evolution and this maturation of who we are, right? Of this knowing of who we are, what it is that we want, how we're willing to get there, and what it is that we're willing to do. And also like just doing that in full expression of our truth and our authenticity and our individual shine and spark and beauty. So this is incredible. This is beautiful energy coming through. Clear. Let's get some guidance from the conscious spirit cards. And so we have the third eye chakra coming through. I see the wisdom of my higher self and apply this wisdom in my life. And then the sun goddess. I celebrate sunrise and recognize the healing energies of the sun. And so this is just that powerful energy of the sun, the sun working with the moon. I almost feel like, even though it's an opposition, it's like we find the ways of working together. And that's big energy right there, right? It's this understanding as we realize how much more powerful we are united, right? That we begin to unify those polarities, and we begin to see the ways that we can actually come together and complement each other, just as the sun and the moon do complement one another. What is it? It was some really beautiful poem that I read once, and it said something about how, what was it? The sun loved the moon so much that it was willing to give up its shine, or sort of sink underneath the horizon every day so that the moon could glow or shine as well, or something like that. I can't remember. I wish that I knew the exact quote or poem, because it was beautiful. I am not doing it justice right now, but it's that beautiful energy. But it's really this energy of like, this is our consciousness exploding when you have the sun with the third eye. This is like a whole new level of our consciousness coming through. Yeah, a whole new level, an up-leveling of our consciousness. Anything else here? And then we have nature spirits. I respect all of nature's elemental beings and help preserve life on Earth. And then the solar plexus card on the bottom of the deck, which is all about awakening personal power. Right, and so we have the solar plexus underneath the Leo I Will card. So that's a lot of that powerful solar plexus, that empowerment energy coming in. And then this, I'm feeling like, this is a full moon where people may benefit a lot from being out in the moon. And I feel like what you're actually really going to benefit from, or we're actually really going to benefit from, is honoring the sun during the day and then honoring the moon at night. So honoring both the sun and the moon during this full moon throughout the course of the day, as we honor those different aspects of ourselves, as we bring those into unification. Right? And I want to do a light worker oracle clear as well for this. So what guidance do we have here? And we have initiation by water with initiation by fire on the bottom of the deck. And so initiation by water, this is all about coming to understand the emotions. This is all about everything under the surface being shaken up so that we can see it and release it and heal it. And really coming into a mastery of our emotions and what it is that they're here to teach us. And then the initiation by fire, we're going to read here. And this is about also the initiation by water, becoming a clearer channel, right? As all of that stuff is stirred up and released and removed, we become a clearer channel for communication from spirit. And we receive guidance that much more easily. We are able to navigate our reality that much more easily because we're clear of all that which is no longer serving. So working with water as well, working with water and fire during this full moon will be very good for those who really like to play with the elements and honor the elements. And so initiation by fire says, initiation by fire is a life-changing spiritual cleansing. Your life will never be the same again. Allow the power of divine fire to clear and purify you from the inside out. So a lot of purification between the water and the fire energy. This is not a time to hold on to anything, no matter how much you once believed you needed it. In letting go, you will gain so much more than you ever imagined, opening to fresh blessings and new life. You are like the phoenix, ready to emerge from the holy flames, reborn. You have the spirit of the phoenix in you. You are able to rise again and again, even at times all seems lost. You are guided to remember this, as you are now being spiritually cleansed through initiation by fire. During such times, you will feel that you're being asked to let go of relationships, situations, sometimes even jobs, attitudes, and belief systems that you have relied upon until this point. You might have unintentionally placed more faith in that person, place, belief system, or identity than you placed in the divine. You might have held on to them rather than allowing the divine to guide you. This can happen easily on the earth plane. Sometimes these attachments become confining rather than supportive. In such cases, you will need to free yourself to continue your life journey. During the initiation by fire, all such attachments are burned away. A new life is a blessing, but that doesn't mean it is easily won. Sometimes the process can be challenging to the mind, even whilst the heart trusts in what is taking place. Whatever has been your stronghold in life, such as a family, a marriage, job security, a talent, or something that you have used to define your sense of self, will be where the fire burns brightest. Those areas will be transformed. Letting go and allowing that to happen to the very parts of your life that you are most protective of can require deep faith. You have to remember that love is real so that you can hold on to your courage whilst you let go and allow the divine to have its way. Remember that the power of fire is destructive only in part. It also stimulates rapid new growth. Remember endings and beginnings. Healing will arise in whatever area is being transformed. It is not only an ending, but also a beginning. This experience of initiation by fire is the divine making its presence felt in your life. It will be one of the most freeing and empowering experiences you'll have whilst in the physical body. It may ask you to confront fears and insecurities as you learn to trust the divine unconditionally. Know that the universe will always provide for you and always in the way that is best for you, even if you don't understand why it needs to happen the way it does at the time. Keeping your eye on the inner transformations that are occurring rather than fearing the outer changes. The universe loves you and holds you in high regard. Remember this and trust. Initiation is an advanced spiritual lesson. You are being honored by what is happening in your life now. You are strong enough to get through it and thrive into your new life, like a radiant phoenix triumphantly emerging from the sacred fire. That is powerful. That is powerful, powerful energy. Yeah, I love it. I love it. And then we're going to pull a couple Keepers of the Light cards to close. Any closing guidance from the Keepers of the Light for this full moon in Leo? We have Lady Portia, Divine Order, Odin, Psychic Insight, Commander Ashtar, Call to Action. Woo! That's some potent energy coming through there. And then Isis, Magic Manifesting, wanting to pop out there as well. And so let's look here. All right, so this is where Lady Portia is telling you that whatever is going on right now in your life that's an important lesson. That's part of that initiation by fire that's happening right now. And so really pay attention to the events that are unfolding in your life, what they are teaching you, and do what is right? And this comes back to that energy of us standing by and acting with integrity. That Sun conjunct Jupiter conjunct Saturn energy, right? In Aquarius, especially, doing what we feel is right, standing by our morals, standing by our values, and knowing, acting from that place of integrity. What have we learned? What has our growth, our transformation, and our healing process taught us? And are we able to apply that now in the lesson that is unfolding? And that lesson is a test in a way, because we're showing Spirit how much we have learned. We're showing ourselves how much we have learned. And that determines where we go from here. And then we have Odin, Psychic Insight. Your third eye is open. 2 cards with mentioning the third eye. So boom, right? See truth for what it is. Follow your intuition. So that factors into as we are being guided through this process, right? Through this initiation. It's seeing truth for what it is, utilizing your intuition, not accepting anyone else's truth, but seeking your own truth and following and letting that truth guide you and help you make the decisions, make the calls that need to be made. And Commander Ashtar, Call to Action, Take Charge, Lead by Example, Walk Your Talk. That's coming through strongly, right? So once again, the integrity. Living in integrity is walking your talk. It's when your actions, your thoughts, your words, and your beliefs line up with your truth. And so that's what we're really being asked to do. That's what we're being called into. That's this next phase of that journey, is really walking our talk, modeling that integrity, being that change that we want to see in the world, and really just allowing everything to unfold, allowing everything to be burned away, right? This keeps coming up over and over and over again because it's so important. Allowing it to be transformed, right? That's what the fire is doing. It's transforming. And so when the fire is finished, what is meant to remain will remain, but it will be in a new and transformed form. And that which is not will become ash. And that's okay too. We have to be okay with that. We have to surrender to that divine alchemy and how that is showing up for us in our lives and in our path. And we have to respond to situations and make the decisions that feel that they hold the most integrity for us, and that also model the truth of who we are, what it is that we believe in. And just this energy of the manifesting, right? Our dreams, visions, and goals continuing to become reality. And so we really want to take ownership of that. This is all about taking action. Taking action. Call to action, right? That Mars energy, that squaring off here, squaring off this sun, moon in this T-square combination, the action piece, so big right now. But it's taking that divinely inspired action, taking that an action that is in line, that is showcases our integrity, showcases who we know we are now. Now that we know who we are, how do we act from that place of knowing? All right, I love you guys. I appreciate you. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, hit that like button. Comment, let me know how this full moon is feeling for you, how you're working, what you're going to be working with these energies, anything that you're going to be doing. Share all of that with us. There are links down below to donate. My email is also down below with the description of my services. If you require any assistance, please reach out to me. I would be honored and humbled to be a part of your personal growth and transformation process, which is, 2021, we're in it now. We're in it to win it, you guys. And so we're just continuing to move. We're continuing to flow. We're continuing to take charge in the areas of our life where we're being called to take charge right now. And I'm so proud of each and every one of you, and so very, very grateful for you all.